All right, guys, so I've had a couple of requests for an instructional video on how to set up a PC98. I've kind of gone through the trials and errors and I've made pretty good progress, and now I've got a couple people that have been helping me as well and trying to get the PC98 scene kicked off in the Western world. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of go over some of the progress that I've made, go over some of the basic things to look for if you're shopping for a PC98. I'll cover that as well. And keep in mind, I'm also coming at this from a perspective of a good mid-range PC98, like a DOS machine. I'm not really going to get into the Windows stuff or the CD-ROM based games or anything like that. Keep in mind that very much like an IBM compatible, these machines vary greatly in what they're capable of and what games they can play. So keep in mind, no one PC98 will play every PC98 game. Just like buying an old IBM compatible machine. You know, you're not going to buy a Gateway 2000 Pentium 166 and have it run some of the early XT type games. It's just not going to work out. Very much true with the PC98 as well. So as I've said in previous videos, pick the type of games you want to play and then pick a machine to match that. So this is a good mid-range machine here. So when you're shopping for a PC98, there's one thing that you absolutely have to make it useful in playing games, and that is the PC9801-86 FM sound card. Now, basically what that is it adds FM functionality to your PC98, and some models actually expands FM functionality. Some of these machines had this built in. Some of them had a 3-channel FM synthesizer built in, especially some of the older ones. You're definitely going to want the what's called 86 compatible sound, which is basically, I believe it's 6-channel FM and several PCM channels, but it's mostly FM. It's a FM chip that's similar to what's in the Neo Geo, except this chip, the YM2608, actually has more FM channels than it does PCM channels. That's the way I like it anyway. So keep that in mind. Absolutely have to have that. Some models have it built in, like this one. Some you have to buy an expansion card, which goes into the C-Bus slot. The expansion boards can run anywhere from $40 to $60 from Japan, and that's not including fees, not including shipping, so you're probably looking at closer to $100, I would say. So keep that in mind as well. Models, just off the top of my head, I won't go over every single one of them because there's hundreds of PC98s. Models that have the 9801 FM expansion built in, the 9801 86 FM expansion built in. The C series, like this one here, also known as the CAN-B models. The A series or the A-Mate models also have that built in. The difference between the two is the C series, being smaller, was more of a media computer, but it does have a much slower processor than like the A-Mates. Those were more of a mid to high range model. They're bigger, and they cost a lot more. They're pretty expensive, but they do have the sound built in, and they do have higher end 46, in some cases early Pentium processors in them. So keep that in mind. Some of the later PC98s, when you started to get into like the Windows 95 era, is when you started getting into some different FM chips, some 86 compatible chips, which some games may have issues with, so keep that in mind. You're going to want to track down something that's got the original YM2608 FM synthesizer for the best compatibility. You may not run into a lot of problems, but some games may not work. You may not get any sound. I've read a couple of games that have had this problem with some of the newer 86 compatible FM synthesizers, so keep that in mind. A lot of people have asked me about the laptops because obviously they're a lot cheaper to import. The problem with the laptop is that none of them are going to have that YM2608 built in. Also, there's really no way to add any kind of controller port, so you're stuck playing with the keyboard. And that's another thing I'll mention. The 86 sound card actually has an MSX style controller port on it. the problem with the models like this one where it's built in is you don't have that controller board. So I am working on a solution. I've got a couple keyboards inbound right now that are a little bit different than this, that have full PCBs in them, that I'm going to try to wire in a joystick solution. So there will be a video on that, so stay tuned. All right, so you've got your PC98. You don't know what to do with it. You boot it up and it boots up into DOS or whatever you have. So just kind of go over a little bit of how the PC98 functions. Let me pull the faceplate off of here so I can show you if I can get the faceplate off. There we go. As you can see, just kind of sitting in there is my hard drive, which is essentially just a compact flash card. That's because the PC9821s, the mid-range, probably what you want to look for, PC9821s are slightly more PC compatible than their 9801 predecessors. The 9821 actually has an IDE bus. So you guys who are familiar with PC hardware are familiar with the IDE bus. This makes it extremely easy to add your own compact flash hard drive. Now, the problem I ran into was what I wanted to do when I bought this machine is take the original hard drive out, which is like a 200 megabyte Connor hard drive. I wanted to take the original hard drive out and actually create an image of the hard drive and then build up a video game based hard drive image from that original image. Unfortunately, I never could get an original image of the drive. I could not. I've tried everything. I tried Linux DD, I tried Clonezilla, I tried a direct sector to sector clone, and for some reason nothing I tried would ever grab the partition table. So it does use a very unusual partition table. So what I had to do was find a copy of MS-DOS 6.2 for this machine, and it is specific to the PC98, so you can't just go grab your old box copy of MS-DOS and write it to disk and do a clean install directly to the compact flash drive. And that allowed me to create a foundation to build this hard drive image. So I'll show you where to get this hard drive image and how to install it. All right, so on the PC side, a couple things you're going to need is you're going to need a couple of utilities. You guys who have x68000s and other weird Japanese computers are going to be familiar with these. But one tool you're going to need is WinImage. You will use this tool to write your image to a disk. It basically does a sector-to-sector write directly to the disk, and it will copy that funky partition table as well. So another tool you'll need if you want to continue to add files to your image is Edit Disk or Disk Explorer. Disk Explorer, I believe, is actually the name. And I'll give you a link to where you can download this hard drive image, and it's got some tutorials on how to actually get this set up. It's a little different than if you guys are familiar with like x68000 hard drive image. It's kind of a different process. So here is the contents of the hard drive image that myself and a couple other people have been putting together. Several people have really come together and have been adding a lot of games that were like floppy drive specific and putting them into this hard drive image. So we've got a pretty good selection of games on here, and it boots right in. And I'll show you. So once you download this hard drive image, really simple. Obviously, you're going to need a compact flash reader of some type. Then it's just a matter of selecting Restore Virtual Hard Disk Image on Physical Drive. You'll select your compact flash drive. Make sure you do that, and then it'll write it to the disk. Simple as that. Pretty easy stuff. Now, once you get it on a disk, it's just a matter of plugging it into your PC98. Now this is for the PC9821. I don't know if it'll work on the 9801, but I'd love to hear about it if you guys have one. I'll turn this on. I'll just kind of show you give you a brief look at the menu itself. So user on the NFG forums, Caius, has actually added a really nice little front end here, a little filer. Makes it a lot easier. You're not sitting here hashing out commands. You can go in here and look at all the games that are installed. Makes life much easier. And this is definitely still a work in progress. We're always trying to find new games to add, so the more people that can get into this, the better it is for everybody. I don't know if I've ever played this version. And you can understand now why you need that FM sound capability. Otherwise, this would just be silent. Oh, I don't know what's going on here. So anyway, I hope this helps you guys out. It's definitely, the PC98 was definitely one of those machines that I was always very curious about. It was kind of a forbidden fruit that nobody really knew about. I only knew one person, just vaguely knew one person who had one, and so it was really something I was extremely curious about and trying to figure out how this thing works. Still trying to figure it out, but I think we've come a long way since I first got this thing. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments.